Hello everybody. So this is not a video about Tesla. This is a video illustrating the concept of 0 to 1 with Tesla cars, Tesla the product. And so I want to make this distinction. I'm not talking about a stock today. Today I want to talk about 0 to 1, the concept, and how you can explain companies that are able to entirely disrupt industries, to bring entire industries to their knees, which is what Tesla has done to the legacy auto sector. And so we'll end up seeing if they can compete well against Tesla or not in the next 10 years. I personally think they don't have a shot, but nonetheless, it's an illustration. This video is an illustration of how Tesla was able to do it, able to turn an idea, the electric car, and submit the industry into this idea. And how did they do that? Well, Tesla was able to do that because they have applied 0 to 1 concepts, and companies who do not apply these concepts, they're going to have a hard time leading in the marketplace. They're going to have a hard time becoming natural monopolies in the marketplace. You are a natural monopoly when you're a monopoly by virtue of your product being so good, which is what is happening to Nvidia right now, which is another point, another company that could be put into a 0 to 1 analysis. So I want to briefly go through a bit of history, and this is where I think a lot of investors don't get disruption or don't look at disruption, is because they still analyze business through 20th century lenses. And you may know, all of these analysts that you follow, they were trained and they are still trained using a book like Competitive Strategy, which is the typical book that your MBA is going to learn. And this is where you learn about things like a moat. This is where you learn about things like rent seeking. You have a moat, you have a nuclear plant in the town and you can produce electricity for the region, and thus you can jack up the prices because you have a moat. The customer has no choice. This is in this 20th century mindset. This is also a book from 1965. So this is where you hear things like, distribution, for example, is a wonderful moat. Never mind, there's the internet. Never mind, there was the internet for Amazon against Barnes and Nobles and Borders. Never mind, there was streaming for Netflix against Blockbuster. Yeah, distribution is not really that strong of a moat, is it? These concepts, also things like, a brand is so important. You get all of these concepts from this book. Why is brand important? Because only a few people could afford to advertise on the evening news, and so you could only create a brand by having multi-million-dollar campaign before the evening news. Today, that's not true. We have neo brands. Today, new brands are created all the time, so the value of the brand, the value of the moat has really decreased. And I want to make that distinction between the 20th century and the 21st century business. And these are two books that I could not recommend anymore. These are amazing books, especially 0 to 1. This is the book to read if you're going to be an investor, in my view. But you can see that there's some overlap between the two concepts of these two books. There might have been some influence here, I don't know, but when I read a book like Blue Ocean Strategy, which is a 2005 book, this also builds on the concept of you want to have the best product, and your best product, your product needs to be the best by a very, very, very wide margin. And it's only if the product is the best by a wide margin that you're going to create a monopoly, that you're going to create something special. And if you look at all of the innovations, the assembly line by Henry Ford, steel and the building of bridges by Carnegie, electricity, kerosene, all of these very, very great innovations, and the innovations that we have today, like the electric car today, these are major innovations that took over their market because they are orders of magnitude better, at least one order of magnitude, sometimes 3 orders of magnitude, i.e. 1,000 times better. And this is subjective. But anyways, that was the concept of 0 to 1 by Peter Thiel, humbly named Notes on Startup startups or how to build the future, right? Notes on startup. This is the story of this book is literally a course that he taught at Stanford, and one of his grad students took notes, and that's why the book is called Notes on Startup, because that's the notes of the grad students. So anyways, let's talk a little bit about 0 to 1, and then we're going to get into Tesla and analyzing it. So the background of 0 to 1, I think, is very important. Because Peter Thiel, according to Wikipedia, and of course, we've all heard of the PayPal Mafia. PayPal Mafia was a famous article in Fortune magazine in the 2000s, released a little after PayPal sold itself to eBay. But the founder, quote unquote, of the PayPal Mafia, or I guess in Mafia term you would say the dawn of the PayPal Mafia, is Peter Thiel. And Peter Thiel, of course, he merged his company with Elon Musk's company. You can see this is the two of them when X.com merged with PayPal. They kind of did like a United and Continental merger where they kept one part of the logo and moved to the next one. Like they kept the X logo, but it became PayPal. They merged. Well, you can see the early day concepts of Peter Thiel's book, which is monopoly is the only way to go, right? Which is why PayPal, they merged together because they realized they were really hurting profits for each other, and creating the best product you can to create a monopoly, to deny the competition anything. And sure enough, Tesla right now, it's got legacy incumbents that are competing against it slightly, I would argue, in the electric vehicle market. How many companies have we had walk back their EV plans? A lot. But there's serious competition from China for Tesla. I don't want to undermine that. I don't think these cars will ever make their way to the US, but in Europe they're making their way there. The point is, look at SpaceX, right? Does SpaceX have any serious competition? Right, I love Rocket Lab as much as the next guy, which, by the way, Rocket Lab is also linked to the PayPal Mafia because it's a Khosla venture investment, just as an aside. But as far as for heavy rockets and higher altitude flights, SpaceX has no credible competitor. They have no credible competitor. That's part of this idea of the PayPal Mafia. You have to move quickly, you have to move fast, and you have to disrupt major industries by making the product orders of magnitude better. How much cheaper is a SpaceX rocket on a load basis, on say 1 pound launch into space? How much cheaper is it? Is it 100 times better, or is it 1,000 times better? I can tell you it's not 10 times better. So it's 2 or 3 orders of magnitude better than the former alternative. The result of that is you become a monopoly. And so watch for the companies created by former PayPal Mafia members. Peter Thiel. What did Peter Thiel found? Peter Thiel founded Palantir. Palantir's performance has been nothing short of amazing. You can see Keith Rabois. I'm going to call him Rabois. He was. That's why I was so big on Open Door in the early days, because Open Door could have been one of these companies that was going for the monopoly. Square, right? Founded Square too with Jack Dorsey. YouTube. We're on YouTube right now. That was a PayPal Mafia result. Reddit. Many of you are big fans of Reddit. Anyways, it goes on and on and on and on. And of course, Max Levchin, a company that I used to own but I don't own anymore, is Affirm. Affirm is going after the entire credit card business and want to disrupt that. These companies are a major threat to the legacy incumbents because of the way they think, because they want to offer 10 times, 100 times, 1,000 times more to their customers, and the customers are going to flee to them because the product is this much better. And that's the story of technological innovation over time. So I watch the PayPal Mafia very, very, very closely. And let me tell you a little bit of background on 0 to 1 and how it works. And this is how I present it. Different people will have different views. And of course, that's a concept from the book, right? But this is the key concept from the book for me, which is your technology, i.e. your product or service, must be at least 10 times better than its closest substitute in some important dimension. And what's an important dimension? Well, that's going to be left up to the to the assessment of the buyer, right? But we'll see why Tesla is 10x better in a lot of important dimensions, which is why the product is revolutionizing the market, right? And which is why with these companies exiting the EV market, they got to be careful about Tesla even becoming a monopoly, because Tesla's back at 60% market share in the US, right? And so with the cycle of decline that some of these companies are gonna go through, I wouldn't be surprised to see that market share go up in the future. So 0 to 1 founders, how do you spot one? Well, you'll spot one in they talk about orders of magnitude better. Whenever you have a founder that starts saying, oh, this is orders of magnitude better, you know they're talking about 0 to 1. You know they're talking about the concept of doing something 10x better. How do you become 10x better? Well, in order to become 10x better, you have to be a first principles thinker. You can't be an industry insider. If you're too big of an industry insider, you're not going to be able to think outside of the box. You're not going to be able to think as a first principles thinker. You have to think like Elon Musk, where the rules of physics are the only things that matter. You know, I could put Steve Jobs in there. Steve Jobs was a little bit like that as well, and he revolutionized so many status quos. You have to be able to question the status quo. This is how people think. When Porsche releases an electric car and the electric car accelerates and it can make the noise of a gas car, this is not questioning the status quo. When in the 1900s the horsey buggy comes out, which is a gas car that has a doll of a horse, a fake horse in the front so that it looks like a horse, you're not questioning the status quo. You're releasing a car, but you're leaving the horse in the front of the car. It's called the horsey car. Look it up. You're not questioning the status quo. You gotta question the status quo, entirely change the thing. And so, a silly example of how Musk is doing that recently with Tesla, of course, is, do you really need a paint color on your car? Right? Cybertruck, most best-selling truck, it's best-selling electric truck in America today. There's no paint. There's no paint. Do you really need to have paint on your car? That's an example of first principles thinking. Think about if the 2 billion cars that we have on the planet, if those 2 billion cars didn't have paint. And they had like a better material, better alloy under that material that made it not rust, right? Where you kept the effectiveness of a material, but you remove the paint. How many gallons of paint does a car have? Is it 5 gallons? Is it more than 5 gallons? So we're just moving paint around. And if anything tells you, if you look at say the favorite color of cars in America is white. That's America's preferred color for their cars, which means that they really don't pick a color. They really don't pick. It's like it's for the average person, picking a color is not what matters. That's why white is like the standard car color. And I'm pretty sure in Europe, black is a very common car color, which is another way of saying you're not choosing a color. So do you really need that? In the book Blue Ocean Strategy, they go through the story of Cirque du Soleil, which the odds are, if you were born in the 2000s, Cirque du Soleil, when you hear circus, you think about Cirque du Soleil. And Cirque du Soleil kind of revolutionized the concept of the circus by removing the animals, which was the very expensive part. But they realized, well, wait a minute, people don't really care about animals in the circus. They actually don't like having animals in the circus. Let's remove the animals from the circus, right? They care about animals. That's why they don't want the animals in the circus. Anyways, does that make sense, right? So you remove that, and this is how Tesla got started. This was out of the box thinking. If you read about the early days of Tesla, their idea was to take batteries from compact laptops, from laptops that become cheap, and take those batteries and see if you can build a car with batteries from laptops. That was the early days of Tesla. So, and I'll summarize that in a nutshell before I go to Tesla itself, and we are going to talk about the product, go through a product, and go through the illustration. So the concept is, if the product is 10 times better or more than the competition's, your chances are very high to become a monopoly. If it's same price, 10 times better, or if it's 10 times better and 10 times cheaper, then you have 100 X, you have 2 orders of magnitude better, they're going to make the switch. Now, if, let's say you've been accustomed to a car brand, let's say you've been buying Mercedes for generation, everybody buys Mercedes. If everybody in your family buys a Mercedes, if all of a sudden Audi, for example, releases a car that is 10% better than your Mercedes, are you going to switch to Audi because that car is 10 or 15% better? Are you going to switch? And the answer to that is no. Brand loyalty makes sense when the competition is not exponentially better. When the competition is not orders of magnitude better, you're going to be loyal, right? Are you going to take the risk to switch away from your favorite brand of chocolate or from your favorite brand of, I don't know, laundry detergent if the competition is just 10-15% better? You're not going to take that risk. If it's 10x better, i.e. if you find a chocolate, for example, that is just as good and 10 times cheaper, well, then maybe you're going to switch and everybody's going to think like you. So this is how 0 to 1 works. This is, so many of the companies I cover on the channel follow that concept, right? HIMSS and phase. So that's why this is not a video about Tesla. This is a video about 0 to 1. This is a video about growth companies and growth stocks. And now I'm going to get started with this illustration with Tesla. So I'm introducing a new spreadsheet that I'm creating, and I'm creating it for my Patreon, right? My Patreon members will have access to the entire spreadsheet, and I hope to have dozens of companies in there. But here and now, I'll also present those spreadsheets on my YouTube channel for free for anybody to see. So let's talk about Tesla against legacy auto and legacy cars. And we're going to get started now with some of the concept of 0 to 1 and how they apply. So Tesla cars. How much does it cost to charge a Tesla? Well, it depends on your cost of electricity, but it's about $6, $5, maybe $7 for a charge at home, 360 miles average. $6 for 360 miles. How much does it cost to fuel your full tank of gas on your car? Well, I would argue it's about $60, maybe 50, maybe 40 if you have a tiny car, if you live in an area where gas is cheap. If you live in an area where gas is expensive, it could be $80 for a full tank of gas. The point, and the mileage is roughly the same at 400 miles. So the point here is that it's 10x cheaper, roughly. Roughly the cost of energy to fuel an electric car is about 10 times cheaper. Is the cost of gas an important factor? Is the cost of fueling the car an important aspect of buying a car? I would argue it's the most important one. I would argue it's the chief reason why people adopt electric cars. They are much cheaper. And that knowledge is becoming slowly widespread. People are slowly noticing the advantage of an electric car. They are exponentially cheaper when you charge them at home, which is what most people do. Most people charge them at home. The other day I was even looking at apartments. The number of apartments in the US that let you charge your Tesla when you're a renter is just nuts. It's just through the roof. And you have many businesses, by the way, too, who still offer free charging. They still offer free charging, you know, back like it's electric car charging, like back in the day, you know, they would do free charging. That's you know, that goes back to some of the ancient dreams of, say, nuclear energy, when they said, oh, energy would be too cheap to meter. Well, we're not quite there yet, but it's becoming very cheap, and we'll see if that gets more efficient in the future. So right now, the average car, and of course I'm just taking the average car, you know, I could have put a Lucid, and then I would show you the Lucid actually has a longer range than the gas car, but I'm not going to go there. Right now, it's 360 miles versus 400 miles. It's 0.8, you know, so gas car is slightly better, but is it really not noticeable? Is it really noticeable? You know, like, I don't know, a gas car, I think people, when they see it's 3/4 empty, they'll go to the gas station typically. So it's probably not even that noticeable of a difference. But anyways, range is somewhat of an important aspect of buying a car, but it is not the most important aspect of buying a car. Also, keep in mind, electric car ranges have just kept increasing. They increase year over year. The energy of battery density of batteries is going to just increase, and we will have a day when we will have electric cars with 1,000 miles of range. This is also very important to say. That day will come. Every year, you get 10% better at making batteries. They get 10% more dense, which is also a long-term disruption we're going to go through. Let's talk about now an important factor for a lot of car buyers, especially the premium car buyer, which is how fast they go, how fast they accelerate. That's an important factor for a lot of car buyers. And guess what? Your average gas car is between 6 and 10 seconds. Right? Your average Tesla in general is under 2.5 seconds. If you're willing to go for a premium Tesla, it's under 2 seconds. So it's 3 times better, not quite an order of magnitude, but it's not just 10% better. It is 3 times better. It accelerates roughly 3 times faster. This is an important factor for a lot of car purchases. If you watch a lot of car reviews, you'll know they'll be quick nowadays to dismiss electric cars because, to quote one of the major YouTubers, on YouTube on car reviews, it's like, oh yes, we know the electric car goes from 0 to 60 in 2 seconds, but we're not going to talk about that today, right? Trying to promote a gas car who, of course, cannot ever do that because it's not the same technology, because it's the ancient technology. The new technology is so much more efficient, and so we'll see what Tesla do even when they enter the Roadster into the market and the highly efficient car. Although that's a topic for a different video, but I think we should cancel that and just focus on the mass market. But that's okay. Let's move on to a benefit that again only an out-of-the-box thinker is going to think about that benefit. Charging at home. How many orders of magnitude better is that than going to the gas station? Is it 10x, 100x, 1000x better? Again, to assess whether that's important or not, you need to go through first principles thinking. Gas stations, I don't know if you knew this, but gas stations are actually top places, and I'm using US stuff here, maybe in Europe it's different, but they're actually top places for crime. They're actually top places for car theft, believe it or not. Actually, if you do polls and surveys, you find out that half of the population, a lot of women, absolutely hate going to the gas station because some people find that the gas station is a great place to go on dates or something, or ask them out, so they hate going to a gas station. A lot of people feel unsafe at gas station. Pumping gas is objectively dirty. Have you ever watched a diesel pump? It's literally oil. Like have you ever fueled diesel? Yeah, it's dirty, objectively. And again, going on with the first principles thinking. Think people have forgotten about in the US, a major spot where they sell alcohol is the gas station. So I've never understood that one out. I mean, I really have never understood that one out. Like they sell you single 32-ounce beers at the gas station. When you go to a gas station with your truck and you buy, I never understood that one out. It's not first principles thinking, right? When we don't have self-driving car, you probably shouldn't be selling so conveniently alcohol where people are obviously coming with their car. Anyways, and the convenience aspect of the gas station is also less and less relevant nowadays because of DoorDash, because of Uber Eats, because of Grubhub. Watch out for this. If you for example, Amazon Prime, they've included Grubhub benefits where you get free delivery now, right? And many credit cards are getting free deliveries, and many of these apps, by the way, are releasing monthly subscriptions to have free delivery. The convenience aspect of a gas station is entirely becoming irrelevant if you can just get everything delivered at home. And by the way, if you know anything about China, you know that's already the standard in China and in much of Asia, and that might come to the US too. So to me, is it 100x better to charge at home? Absolutely. I can tell you, going to the gas station is not a cherished part of my day. It really isn't. Now, let's talk about FSD. And, of course, people hate Tesla, so they'll say, oh, yeah, no, it doesn't work. So that's why I said it's trending towards safer than human driver. Eventually, it will be. The progress that they do on this is absolutely amazing. In gas cars, you don't have any options like that. You don't have any FSD option. Sure, they have. I think they have one gas car that can drive on the highway, I think, or something. But it's virtually non-existent. And so, how much better is it to have a car that drives itself? Is it 100 times better? Is it 1,000 times better? I don't know. I can tell you one thing is that most drivers are amateurs. So unless you're like you're a driving enthusiast and you love driving, then to you, of course, it's not a very good thing. But if you're not, if you're like most people who are just amateur drivers, well, it's in that situation. In that situation, the Tesla that drives itself would be so much better. And of course, it takes a little bit of introspection. Like we all drive because we don't have a choice. We have to drive. But have you ever assessed whether it's a cherished part of your day? Have you ever assessed whether you actually look forward to driving? I have, and I don't care at all. I mean, I do it because I have to do it, but in the grand scheme of things, I'd be very happy if the car drove for me. So anyways, moving on. Again, first principles thinking. Maintenance. Why is the maintenance on a Tesla so much smaller? And of course, we still have remnants of anti-EV talk. Say, oh, it costs $20,000 to replace the battery. We still have these remnants everywhere. But objectively speaking, first principles thinking, obviously it's going to be less maintenance. I mean, not only you don't have oil changes, you have fewer gears, you don't have, and I think this is the most important thing, you don't have a lot of moving parts, right? A Tesla is about 10 to 20 moving parts. A gas car is 100 to 200 moving parts. A gas car is industry. A gas car is an appliance. An electric car is a consumer good, a mass market electronics consumer good. It's a major difference. Tesla cars are made by robots, just like iPhones. It's consumer goods. You're entirely changing. You're moving from an appliance, a car, to a consumer good. And of course, the scale that can be achieved is entirely different. Is it 10x better? In my view, it is. Let's talk about life expectancy. Yeah, because lower maintenance, we want to talk about life expectancy. Well, the evidence suggests that electric cars last much longer than gas cars. To the best of my ability, I can find you that they last about between 400 miles and 400,000 miles, of course, and 1,000,000 miles. Gas cars, they're going to max out at about 250 miles. After that, they'll start falling apart. And this is about 4x better objectively. And all I'll say is look up the 1,000,000-mile warranty that Tesla had in the early days. That's how confident it was in the quality of its car. They had the 1,000,000-mile warranty. They don't have it anymore, but that's the point. Fewer moving parts means life expectancy of a vehicle is going to be much better. Now, that I don't know. I don't know how much better are software updates, but software updates are clearly better, and it's following a playbook from the iPhone, right, from the phone or from the computer. So while the hardware inside your legacy car becomes obsolete year after year and after year, Tesla has regular software updates such that the software on your car is always up to date, and that's how they're going to be able to roll out FSD to all of the cars on the marketplace. Again, is that 10x better? I think it's 10x better. We can say that. Assessing software, is software an important aspect of a car? Well, if you go in the 2000s, sure, it was not an important aspect. But today in the 2020s, software might be one of the most important aspects of a car, which is why some people, for example, won't buy a Tesla because it doesn't have Apple Car. Important note, right? So I just want to point out software has become a more and more important aspect to the car. Now let's talk about, and this is one of that I rarely see discussed on any channel discussing Tesla. And this is a disruption, by the way. This is a business model disruption. This is a disruption that a car brand could have done too. Right? This is a disruption that any new car brand, it didn't have to be an electric car to do that disruption. Tesla car, you buy it online. Gas car, you buy it at a dealership. Have you ever tried to buy a gas car online? When you go on Ford.com or GM.com or whatever, and you say, I want to buy the new Chevrolet Malibu or whatever, it will find a dealer in your area and it will send you to the dealer. But you came online in the first place to not see a dealer. How much better is it to buy the car online as opposed to buying it at a dealership? Is it 10 times? Is it 100 times better? Or is it priceless? And all I have to say on that one is look up online things people would rather do than go to a dealership. Things people would rather do than go to a dealership. And you'll find that respondents prefer root canals, doing taxes, or waiting in line at the DMV. And oh gosh, I've done the DMV. Oh boy. This is pretty crazy. People, people don't, especially younger people, they don't want to step foot in the dealership. Buying online is the way to go. And when you see the hard time that legacy players have had to move online, to just sell online, they've had an incredibly hard time. And so this is changing. How much better is it? I don't know, but to me it's way better. Let's move on to again, this is kind of funny, but it's not that funny if you really think about it. Durability. Tesla prides itself on the durability of its car. The Cybertruck is bulletproof. Now for a regular car that may not matter, but for a truck where you have a bunch of I guess like manly men who are like, yeah, I'm buying a truck. You would want it to be bulletproof, right? And it is bulletproof, and those videos are very impressive. By the way, this is an outstanding marketing innovation. Is it 10x for a Cybertruck? Yes, in my view, it is 10x for a Cybertruck. Can your car do that? The answer to that is likely not. And so the question is, will they roll out that feature in their other vehicles? Well, maybe, but you see why it's out of the box thinking. You see why it's so much better, and why it's you're not talking about 15% better here. You're talking about orders of magnitude better across the board for these vehicles. Air filtration. The air filtration is a little better. I don't have much to talk about that. The car actually filters the air, and they have this joke that actually, if you had a bunch of Tesla in a town, I don't think it's a joke. I think it's a calculation they've made. But if you had a bunch of Tesla in a town, like let's say if a town had 50% Teslas driving in it, you would actually reduce the smog because it actively filters the air for the town, which is fascinating. Let's talk about. I guess this is how I'm going to call it. Tesla is casually disrupting the Generac/wall batteries business, or at least making that business much smaller. This is coming to Tesla in 2025. This is the home battery backup, the idea that when you charge your car at home, you're going to be able to power your house with your car and for a few days. And so this is a major innovation that disrupts the battery backup. It creates energy independence for home in case of disasters and stuff. Especially important in the US, where there's a lot of power outages. I mean, where I'm at in Texas, it's pretty common. And of course, gas cars don't have that. They can't have that because they don't have the battery. To me, this is a big deal. And then you have potential opportunities to earn money with your car. This is another big deal that Teslas, will have at some point, and of course this argument has been touted a lot by the Tesla community, but it's nonetheless true that at some point you will be able to earn more with your electric car. This is already true, for example, when you ride share, right? If you ride share, asking for a Tesla is more expensive typically because people want to ride in Tesla, which is pretty crazy. That's one aspect, but of course, if your car turns into a home battery, say a 70 kilowatt home battery, standalone battery, then you may be able to resell that power to the grid. So it serves as a backup power, and you can build that national battery that I've been talking about in prior videos, where the nation could have all of the batteries of its electric car serve as a national battery in case of emergency of some kind or in case of peak power demand on the grid. Gas car, the amount of money you can make is limited. I mean, sure, you can drive on Uber and stuff, you can rent it on Turo, but it's more limited, and it will never have distributed compute as compute rental. Renting your compute from your car to Tesla for, say, training or inference, and it will never have power resale. Well, in the case of a Tesla, well, it's a software update. I don't know if Tesla will get there, but it's nonetheless a software update. to me, if there's future potential with a Tesla that you don't have with a gas car. And I'll conclude this with the cost. And so, I tried to compare, like, it all depends. Who do you compare Tesla to? Historically, Tesla has been a luxury brand. And in my view, the very concept of a luxury car brand is going to go away. Billionaires have iPhones, right? They don't have virtue anymore. The virtue phones, they were these expensive phones from the 2000s. They would cost tens of thousands of dollars for a phone. They don't use these custom phones anymore. The mass market product is the luxury product, in my view. Luxury is just going to disappear. That's the way I view it. And so I don't know what to compare the cost of, say, a Model 3 in the USA, which is the entry-level car at Tesla. But I know the size. The size is similar to an Audi A4, a BMW 3 Series, or a Toyota Camry. That's the similar size. And you can see with a tax credit removed, so assuming you qualify for a tax credit, it's $31,500 for a Model 3 brand new. The Audi A4 is $42,000 brand new, of course, no tax credit. The BMW Series 3 is $47,000 brand new. And so that comparison depends if you call Model 3 a luxury car or not. But if you want to compare it to a non-luxury vehicle, the Toyota Camry is $29,500. So it's only $2,000 less. So I would argue it's barely more expensive than a Toyota Camry, cheaper than a luxury brand, but it all depends what we mean by luxury. And in my view, to the Gen Z, to a lot of millennials, the luxury is Tesla. It's popular culture dictates what luxury is, and popular culture is promoting Tesla nowadays. So anyways, this is just an example. So again, this was not really a Tesla video. This is just an example to show you how 0 to 1 thinking can help a product lead. Because when you see this comparison, it seems obvious to me that people are going to switch because they want to have the 10x, the 100x, the 1000x better on important features. They want to get access to that orders of magnitude better that take them into the future. And this is why, in my view, people are going to flock in droves, especially as the interest rates are getting dropped. So this is the sample of the spreadsheet, and I'm going to expand this spreadsheet greatly, and I'm going to cover all of the stocks on my channel like that. Legacy solution, modern day solution, right? There will be one on HIMSS coming. HIMSS type of healthcare versus legacy healthcare. Enphase energy versus utility. I will go on and on and on, so I could do SoFi versus a traditional bank. I could go on. All of the companies that are so disruptive that I cover on the channel, they fit on important aspects that are better than the competition. And that's 0 to 1 thinking. And this spreadsheet, of course, will be updated live. As I update it, it will be updated. And so if you have access to it from my Patreon, you'll see all of my changes. And again, I launched my Patreon yesterday, and I am pleased to announce that I have 15 members. So I'm so grateful. If you registered to Patreon, I am so grateful. You motivated me to make this video this morning. I was so motivated. This is really going to help me put out more content, more free content for everybody, more private content for Patreon members. Thank you so much for your support. There's a Discord, there's everything. If you want to look it up, you can look up the Patreon. This is the link right there. So thank you so much for your support if you're on Patreon. I just had a channel benefactor, and we sign up for my expensive plan, and I will be making a custom video on ServiceNow, and I'm excited to present that company sponsored by one of my Patreons. So I'm very excited about the Patreon. Thank you so much. Please subscribe. This was not investment advice, no financial advice. This is just entertainment. Hoping you were entertained. Thank you so much for watching. Follow me on X if you can. Have a wonderful day. Thanks for watching.